I'm Robin Miller-Brecker.
And I'm Karen Lenzer. Welcome to Seeking Center, the podcast.
Join us each week as we have the conversations and weed through the spiritual and holistic clutter for you. We'll boil it down to what you need to know now.
We're all about total wellness, which to us means building a healthy life on a physical, mental, and spiritual level. We'll talk to the trailblazers who will introduce you to the practices, products, and experiences that may be just what you need to hear about to transform your life.
If you're listening to this, it's no accident. Think of this as your seeking center and your place to seek your center. And for even more mega inspo, sign up for Seeking Center, the newsletter at seekingcenter.app. If you're like us, you've heard of the term biohacking, but you don't really know what it means and if it's for you. As Top Doctor magazine says, holistic care is rising to a level of Nobel-prize winning science, incorporating physics, chemistry, and electromagnetic technology, finally addressing the root cause of biological imbalance. That seems exciting, right? We want to begin to scratch the surface of this exploding new world. Our friend, Lori Turney, who is a feng shui practitioner, spiritual counselor, Reiki master energy healer, author, and is most recently a Centropix affiliate executive, introduced us to this biohacking world. Centropix is a major innovator and producer in this field of technology for well-being. She also introduced us to Sabine Messner, who is the director of North America with Centropix, as well as a 5D business mentor, human design catalyst, and creator of Soul Purpose Branding and Soul Purpose Wealth. We're going to dig into this technology, how it works, and what else we all need to know about biohacking. Let's get going. Hi, Sabine. Hi, Lori.
Hey, hi, Karen, Robin, how are you? It's beautiful to see you both. And Sabine, always great to be with you.
We're so happy to see you two both. We've had so many conversations together. So this is really exciting.
I know. And some wonderful in-person meetings in Sedona, my background.
Magical.
Yeah, it is. We're in some magical vortex energy as we have this great conversation about energy.
Let's start with what is biohacking?
So biohacking is essentially the shortcut to jumpstart your body, your physiology into essentially the optimal state. As you all know, we live in a very health challenging environment. There's so many issues all compounding on top of each other. And we've gotten actually used to a lot of symptoms and normalize them, where I'm so grateful to the biohack community to basically question the fatigue, question the exhaustion, question what we actually tolerate as the daily aches and pains.
Yeah. And I love what you've said. You use that Tesla quote, which helps to level set, I think, in some ways, why biohacking works and is so important. You just tell us all what that is.
We all have heard it, Robin, right? From one of the biggest geniuses in the world, Nikola Tesla himself. If you want to understand the universe, think in terms of energy, vibrations, and frequencies, right? And he essentially also back then developed technologies that quickly was promptly repressed. But we are now at this paradigm change where this is no longer just a bumper sticker or a cool quote. It is actually a reality changing paradigm shift that we're all going through. And our current health, wellness, but also medical system is all based on the biochemical approach, right? You either take a supplement, vitamins, minerals, or you take medication, pharmaceuticals, but everything basically starts with that biochemical reaction. Come to find out, when we're actually going a level deeper to the very foundation of our physiology, our bodies are electromagnetic. And so far in our evolution, we have not had either the sufficient knowledge or technology to really affect that electromagnetic change. And now this technology is here. Obviously, Native American energy healers have always known about hands-on healing. I have myself studied for decades with indigenous people who understood the power of a healing hand or a prayer. So in many ways, for as long as there have been humans, we've always understood energy medicine, energy healing. But now we're really at that paradigm change where we're finding much more broad scientific embrace of this because of the molecular science that's advancing. doing. And we're so delighted, Lori and I, that we were guided by our guides, angels, by our own souls to be aligned with this wonderful company that is doing an incredible job in pioneering this wellness technology.
You said that so well. And I think for some of our listeners, me included, when we first started having this conversation, this idea of being at the intersection of technology and wellness was like hard to get your head around. I think so many people are used to hearing about wellness in terms of meditation or organic eating, but they haven't really thought about, oh my gosh, my body is literally made up of electromagnetic energy. And now all of this technology that we're creating in our modern life can really apply to understanding more scientifically about the impact that it's having on the human body. So I love how you've served that up and have really blended those two together so people can start to explore this now from a completely different perspective.
And what you started to introduce too was that your own journey to it. So we want to hear from you both about your journey to where you are now.
I found myself 1.5 years ago really in a menopause slumber, to call it mildly. So if any ladies of you out there can relate, that is quite a challenging phase to go through. And the thing that I was most struggling with was actually lack of motivation. And in hindsight, I also have to say that I was suffering from a mild chronic depression without actually realizing it, because I was never a person that had those tendencies of always being high vibe, high motivation. That whole change, that hormonal change really did a number on me. And at the same time, my husband was also facing quite some complex health challenges where he just, for the life of him, couldn't get to a really good root cause analysis. And I believe in the power of prayer and intention. And so at that time, and we were both struggling with our own situations, this wellness technology fell into our lap. A beautiful friend of mine called me up and she basically said, listen, this is a technology that I think you would really enjoy learning about. And we immediately embraced it. And we can't even imagine now living without our cloud. And that is spelled with K.
What about you, Lori?
Thanks, Karen and Robin and Sabina. I met Sabina in Sedona about a little over a year ago. She was speaking at a conference and I was sitting in the back. I had arrived late and there was an open chair next to me. And of course, as the universe would synchronistically have it, she finished her lecture and she came and sat down right next to me in the open chair. So here we are, right? And we got to know each other quite well. At that time, I had a lot of challenges over the last few years from a health standpoint. I've had an autoimmune disorder since I was 19 that I've been working on balancing. And then things like Sabina said, some depression, hair loss, weight, whatever it might be. And I had also taken a really bad trip and fall in Los Angeles on one of those unlevel sidewalks. And I actually went into a concrete wall and cut my face and had to have stitches and all kinds of things. And my left hip is the thing that really took the brunt. When you fall, your body does this reaction, right? And it stiffens up. Anyway, the stitches are healing and all of that's good. And I didn't lose any teeth from the fall and my hip didn't break, but it did hurt at night. I had a lot of discomfort when I was sleeping on my left side. And Sabina came back from Germany, shared with me this technology that she and her husband started to work with for some of his serious things that he was going through. And so she came to Sedona and they did a couple of demonstrations here with it. And I was on both the large cloud, which is the maxi, and then there's a mini. And they did 2 sessions with me. And from that point on, this goes back a year almost now, and I haven't had any discomfort in that left hip from that fall. And I'm the Reiki master. I do healing work myself and have worked with vibrational frequency energies for many years. And I felt like this was something the universe provides us with tools, and sometimes they're not in the form we think they're going to come in. And this is one of those. I've been incorporating it into the work that I do and also into some of the corporate work that I do with wellness and the workplace environment. And I found it to be absolutely life-changing for many people, including myself. So that's why we're here to share it.
Yes, it is. And what I want people to know too is that there's different forms of biohacking. So we're going to talk about one specific one today, which I can't wait to get a little more into. But just so people who are listening know, they may have heard of things like red light therapy or cryotherapy or sleep tracking devices or meditation apps, even something like taking cold plunges. That's all part of what we're talking about in terms of biohacking. Today, we're going to talk about something specific, which is PEMF. You're going to explain what that is and then how that works in terms of molecular activation and so forth.
I also want to say too, I think for people who are listening to what you were just talking about, Lori, I know that all of this is biohacking, but why in your particular case, what is it about that technology? What does it do? And what do you think was in it, or what was it about it that you think helped you heal in ways that other things didn't?
I know Sabina's going to be able to comment too, but for me, I think we're forgetting that we're primarily comprised of water, our bodies. We are water. And there's some great information from Centropix on Dr. Emoto's work, et cetera, with water, and the ability to change the dynamics of it in our body and environment with frequency. And so for me, I believe that was something that was a real catalyst to the being that I experienced after working with the cloud technology. I really do. I think it had a lot to do with some sort of a frequency interruption to the molecular. Obviously, it works on our molecular structure, our cells, to rejuvenate them. And water plays a big part in that. And I think people forget that. And I also think that if people can't see something, they don't think it's happening. Let's take a supplement, let's take a pill, let's do something physical because we can see it and touch it. And we think it's doing something because we're holding it in our hand, like a supplement, for example. But with this, people, a lot of times you'll get on the cloud and they'll say, I wish I could. Some people do that are sensitive to energy, feel it, right? They feel this wonderful energy that's coming from these devices, and they're soothing. And I believe also they're helping those people that I work with a lot that have a hard time getting into a meditation state. When you get on the cloud at a certain frequency level, you can drop in to a meditation far more easily than a lot of people sometimes have difficulty with that. And they say, we need to go within, we need to meditate, we need to be in this loving frequency. And this is one way for many people that are very stressed to be able to do that easily.
Well, and just to add one thing to the water, not only are we comprised of water, but our planet is comprised of water. And it's that connection and that energy and how that all flows. And then if you have a device, as you're saying, that helps conduct it and can actually help improve it and get you back into some sort of balance, it makes sense.
Yeah, it makes total sense. And then when you listen to what Sabine is going to tell you about, because she's an expert in this, on what we are being subjected to on a daily basis from low orbit satellites, EMFs, et cetera, I'm going to flip it over to her to talk about that and how this technology protects us and interrupts that bombardment. So tee that up for you, Sabina.
Love it, Lori. Yeah, totally. So the problem is that we have what I call the white elephant in the room, the white elephant in the environment. And what is the white elephant? It is an extraordinarily rapid advancement of basically what we commonly call 4G, 5G, 7G, 9G technology. And we can see the antenna towers and cell towers, and then soon also the cell modules that are getting installed all over. What we're not being told, aside from that it is supposed to provide fast internet speed, is actually how harsh those frequencies are. They're very fast. They're in the gigahertz. And we know that organic life, so this includes also our furry four-legged and two-legged ones, all organic life, humans, plant life, animals, we're not congruent with that kind of environment. And yet we're, as a society, we're ushered into that electro-smog environment. We have smog advisories. Pregnant women, joggers, don't go outside on high smog days. And I always joke, even though it's totally not funny, that if we were to have e-smog advisories, we probably would have to be evacuated off the planet because we're being, for the sake of the adoption of technology, really exposed to something that we don't even know the long-term effect of. More and more research is coming out, and we're seeing that, for example, mental health concerns are directly linked to e-smog, DNA damage, complex autoimmune systems, so many things, including leaky gut syndrome, and also the latest one, issues with the blood-brain barrier. That is super, super scary stuff. So we're navigating into this essentially toxic vibrational environment, whether we are in our homes with dozens and dozens of so-called smart devices making us feel more and more are zapped and tired and exhausted, or whether we're driving out in the cities, it's all getting very compounded. And the Karolinska Institute, which is the world's most prestigious institute that actually hands out the medical Nobel-prize, was actually doing some significant research on the rampant advancement of e-smog. And they came out with a number that is an absolute shocker. They said that in the last 10 years, since 2012, before we had the smartphones, e-smog has increased by 1 quintillion times. Not by 100 times, not by 1,000 times, not by hundreds of thousand times. A quintillion is a billion times a billion. That's 18 zeros. That is a kind of mathematic exponential number that most brains, we can't even conceive it. It's beyond our actual comprehension. All it basically justifies is exactly what we said at the beginning of our conversation. We are now at that vibrational paradigm shift. We are shifting out of essentially a world where it was all physical. You had to be able to touch and see it and what have you, to essentially the world of truly, like Tesla said, vibrations, frequencies, and energies. What makes Centropix, and especially the cloud, really the best in the world, in our opinion, is the biohack advantage that we have when it comes to molecules. Because molecules is where we are electromagnetic. But not only that, molecules are the building blocks of all life. Everything is made out of molecules. Stem cells are made of molecules. The mitochondria is made of the molecules. So imagine all of the biohack theories or approaches that have to do with just those two aspects. Our organs, everything, our hair, our fingernails, everything is made out of molecules. Molecules are the building blocks of life. And in our technology, we have essentially the pinnacle of 60 years of molecular research, triple patented, highest state of the art, highest sophistication in terms of signal quality, frequency signal combinations, so that we're speaking to all of the different molecules in the body. There are different atomic classes of molecules. For example, if you have a molecule that basically helps the skeleton, the bone marrow, or muscle layers, that has a different atomic weight than a molecule in the brain or in the blood. So imagine if you want to speak the molecular language and reach those molecules and charge them, activate them, structure them again. And this brings us back to the water. Dr. Emoto's research has shown that structured water crystals are critical to life. That's where the charge is. That's where the life force energy flows, or not. And the issue is that we're all having, young and old and fit and maybe not so fit, all being, like I said, ushered in this vibrational environment that literally zaps the energy out of our cells on that molecular level. So we get out on the cloud in the morning, we charge our cells up. It only takes 15 minutes. All 35 trillion plus cells in our body are molecularly charged. So we are vibrationally resilient. We can go out in the day. We don't feel zapped. We feel actually healthy, vital, and we're reverse aging. We have many studies done where people are reverse aging over the course of 1 month by 10 years. That's a biohack success. And then we get on the mat in the evening one more time for 15 minutes. And what that helps us with is to have restorative, relaxing, and sound sleep, because that's the other thing that goes out of the window with all of this high stress and high electromagnetic environment that we live in, is that we do not access the parasympathetic anymore, or certainly not enough. And so twice a day, 15 minutes, you charge all of your cells through that molecular activation. And this is why we're now leaders in what they call PEMA. We are next gen PEMF. In a sense, you can't compare the cloud anymore to PEMF devices that are out there in the marketplace. We're really cutting edge. The inventors are saying we're 10 years ahead of essentially what's out there in the PEMF space. We believe that with great humbleness, but also great appreciation and gratitude, because we have seen firsthand what it all does. I want to also at this point say that we are not a medical device, even though we witness miracles every day. We are a wellness and fitness device, a really mighty one, because if you can imagine, if you are helping the molecules, everything improves, everything works better, including also whatever protocols you may be on to improve your performance, to prevent things from going downhill. Or if you are in a recovery phase, it will make everything work better because it gives body the one thing that we are constantly losing, and that is life force energy.
Can you also explain what PEMF and PEMA stand for?
Appreciate that so much, Robin. Yes. So PEMF stands for pulsed electromagnetic field. And PEMF is actually a technology, even though it's only now trending, it's been around for 70 years. So if you go to some of the PubMed websites, you can find thousands of studies on all of the wellness and health benefits of PEMF devices. And those were the older generation. So imagine now what we're bringing to your Seeking Center community, which is the latest and greatest out of the Rhine Valley, which is basically in the three-country corner of Germany, Switzerland, and Austria. And there we have essentially Europeans' version of Silicon Valley. We have a lot of knowledge still in Europe around, for example, homeopathy or alternative approaches. Just for example, to mention the Paracelsus Institute, which is one of the world's most leading holistic institutes. There is a lot of understanding around vibration, that approach that Tesla basically already predicted 100 years ago. So PEMA stands for pulse electromagnetic activation. And so this is the next gen PEMF. And in a sense, we're creating a new sector in the frequency space.
The first time we had this conversation, my mind was blown because I'm sure so many of us don't think about ourselves as being a frequency. And we don't realize that when we have a maintenance level of frequency where we should be in the middle of the road. And so many of us, even just by our day-to-day, right, driving in traffic, all of that throws us off, let alone the environmental impact that it actually has on us. And so as people are listening to this, I'm sure that they're thinking about, wow, how in the last decade disease has been so much on the rise, how anxiety, depression, sleep issues, all of these things have been impacting us. And people talk about them all the time, but they're not talked about in the same conversation as frequency, and how all of this in the environment is throwing us off. Many of us think about we're not eating good foods, we're not exercising enough. And yet at the very core level, we're getting sicker, we're more tired because our frequencies are out of whack. I just find that like such a mind-blowing thought.
I couldn't agree with you more, Karen. And what I really don't like about the conversation that we currently have about health and wellness in general is that it feels disempowering to me. It almost feels people are encouraged to add the labels on top of the labels. We're meeting so many younger adults that in their 20s, they should be in their prime. They should not even think about diseases. And yet they say, I have this and that. And the list goes on as if that's something to celebrate. It is absolutely not. And it's not congruent with the human condition. The body, when given an opportunity, and even the slightest opportunity, will always do whatever it can to bring us instantaneously into the equilibrium. We have seen the other day with a person who was just a couple seconds on the mat. The body takes that energy that we're supplying on the molecular level and then immediately applies it to where there is a problem. So it immediately goes to the construction zones, whatever it needs to be, whatever is not ideal, it goes there and repairs, restores, and ultimately optimizes further and further. And that is why we're actually reverse aging. That's why we're enjoying vibrational resilience. And imagine you bring this technology to your loved ones, the younger ones, the older ones. There is so much healing potential here for us. And I think we deserve it. We deserve to be supported where, like I said, the rubber hits the road, because that white elephant in the space, that e-smog, is very corrosive.
To that point, one of the things that we've talked about in our many conversations is the fact that there are people who are moving out of big cities or major suburbs because they feel like they want to escape all of the technology that's around, and they're going and they're living off the land, let's say, and they're more isolated. And even then, where most people think, and listen, I'm sure that their food and everything is probably even better for them. However, they're not really escaping all of this e-smog because of the satellites and so forth that are out there. So I'd love for you to speak to that for a moment.
It's very true. It's very true, Robin. People may not realize, but the plan is by 2030 to have 50,000 low orbit satellites basically covering the entire globe. And every year there's thousands of them that are being installed in what they call lower orbits, because it's those satellites that we depend on for all of these smart location-based devices. So just consider the fact that every time you have a cell phone in your hands, right, and then the GPS is on, you're essentially linking with a low orbit satellite. And these low orbit satellites, because they have to cover such a big territory, they have very high frequencies that, like I said, are not congruent with the organic life. And we don't have enough scientific debates and conversations around that. We're just, like I said, ushered into this technocracy environment. And we love the conveniences. Don't get me wrong. I love my GPS. And even if I'm hiking in a nature preserve, it's nice to know that where you're at, but it comes at a cost. And I think that we don't even understand what that cost is. In 1 or 2 generations, it could be very devastating, because when we're looking at the trends, we're not getting stronger. We're getting, in a sense, weaker. And like us, make a choice where it's not complicated. I don't have to do a bunch of things. It's not like a complicated health protocol. Just having the energetic support made me able to go through detoxes. It made me able to lose weight. It made me able to snap out of my brain fog. All of those things like that. It's just so amazing. And it's the one thing that I know I can do for my body every day that allows me to stay in the game and enjoy life, enjoy myself, enjoy life the way it should be. And maybe also the way it was, if we think back to the 90s, before all of this interconnected technology was engulfing the planet.
And I think that's the beauty of what this is. We know the technology is not going to stop. And to your point, we like our conveniences. So that's not going away. This is just a helpful resource and tool so that you can arm yourself and your frequency to be able to live within this world.
And harnessing the power of technology in a way that's good for you instead of trying to fight it. And I was just thinking too, as you were talking about, now we understand more about why breath work helps, why meditation helps, why even being in water helps. All of that makes our body feel more in balance because it's connecting with us on a frequency and molecular level. Is that right?
Yeah, totally. I was going to just chime in and say that because I'm here in Sedona, that so many people, you mentioned, Robin, want to leave the city and move somewhere and be off grid or whatever. So we get millions of people here every year that are seeking, like your name here, Seeking Center. They are here coming here to seek center. They're looking for something outside of themselves that they can't find in a big city typically. But that isn't necessarily, it's great to do that and disconnect a bit and come to places like this where the frequency is super heightened here. So whatever you're working on is going to come up, right? But it's about being resilient. It's about creating that resilience. It's not about running away and escaping. It's about when you leave someplace, you go with yourself. You go with yourself no matter where you are or what state you're in. You go to Sedona and you say, here I am. I still have 10 pounds and I'm depressed, whatever it might be that you're working on. Being able to have a device and a technology like this to support you wherever you are on the planet. If you're in Los Angeles in a high-rise downtown and you have EMFs bombarding you and low orbit satellites and all of that, you have a way to help become resilient and stronger in that environment. The same as if you're somewhere where there's no 5G towers, but yet you're still being subjected, as Sabine said, to the low orbit satellite situation that's happening on the planet. So you can't escape all of this. It's about becoming self-aware, stronger, more resilient, and utilizing the tools that Spirit has given us, really, that the universe is providing us during these times that may not have been something you would have thought of 5, 10, 20 years ago even. I didn't think I would be here talking to you about this, but I can tell you from a year of use with the cloud and the other devices, the cocoon, the bubble that are part of the Centropix offering, it makes a tremendous difference in strengthening your body, mind, and spirit and your ability to function in this new world that we're in. And it definitely is a new world.
To piggyback on what Lori was just talking about, she made this almost unbelievable observation that the animal world was gathering around her home. When she was using this benevolent life supportive technology, she noticed all of these deers were hanging out in front of her kitchen window. It was unbelievable.
My goodness.
They would just come and sleep for hours under the trees. And just seeing the many people, too, cats and dogs, and horses, getting on the cloud when I have a person come over to experience the healing technology. Because a lot of times they'll bring their animals, and we've had animals that are ready to, the vets are like, look, this animal's not going to make it. And animals are amazing because they don't outshout their intuition like we do. They don't question things, right? They get on the cloud, and the next day, I'm not kidding, I have a friend with a dog that we hike with every day, and he's 13 years old. He's a little Shih Tzu, and he's not well. She was having to carry him in a little backpack around the mountain. He gets with her on the cloud a couple of sessions, and now he's prancing around the mountain. Wow. I kid you not. Unbelievable stories that I have of not just humans experiencing great things, but animals quickly. Yeah. We should learn from them.
To really support what you're saying, Lori, we have a lot of people in the Amish country that are using the cloud, and you know that the Amish really don't embrace technology. And if they are buying the cloud, then it's a really big deal. And they're even using the cloud on wildlife. We've heard some unbelievable stories. Not all they using the clouds on their horses and really restoring the wellness of their horses, maintaining their own health and wellness, but also they're using it on, the animals. I think one more comment that I do find very important, we're using the term technology, right? Frequency technology. And it sounds so complicated. It sounds, oh my gosh, it's like this, I'm not technology savvy. What does this even entail? And I want to just really let everybody know this is so super, super simple. You turn a switch, you turn it on, you select a program. If you want, you can use the phone app, but most people are actually just like clicking the buttons. My 85-year young mother can totally do it. And that's how basic and almost in a good way, down to earth this technology is. It's also not connected to the internet unless you need a download or so. It's completely off grid. So it's just you, your body, and the molecular activation. That's it, right? You're not hooked into some sort of AI, no database, no scanning, no report, nothing complicated. It's just you, yourself, and your life force energy having a powwow every day, twice a day. And that's all it takes to be thriving again, no matter what age you are in. It makes everything work better as it should.
Glad you added that.
And I know we've talked about the cloud and the mini cloud, but there are a couple other devices. Can you explain what those are?
Yeah, it's called the Cocoon, and it looks about the size of a router, and they're little cards that have a gold strip. So the frequency is embedded or impregnated into the gold strip, and you place the cards into the device, the Cocoon, and basically you curate your frequency environment of your home. It has an 81-foot arc of frequency surrounding you, both below and above, and you put in the e-smog card, which neutralizes any of the electromagnetic frequencies and e-smog from Wi-Fi and all the things that we just talked about that are hitting us on a daily basis, especially at night while we sleep. I know a lot of people turn off their Wi-Fi and they're still not getting the sleep that they deserve to have. And there's a wonderful card in this called the sleep card. You put that in and you curate your environment. I had some people come over the other day and they said, wow, it feels really good in here. And I said, I know, I'd like to say it's just my energy, but I actually have this amazing device and I have the Hawaii Harmony card in. So they're like, I feel like I'm on the islands. That's because you're in a frequency field of a waterfall on the island of Kauai or whatever. The negative ions that are coming from that type of a frequency are being emitted on this card, on the device. So there's a lot of different amazing things that Centropix offers. That's another one besides the two cloud sets. And they all work together. They harmonize together. Your environment becomes something that you can control, where before you maybe don't feel like you can control what's going on in your space, both whether it's your home or your office environment.
I think we talked about, Lori, the fact that the future of home technology could really be regulated by this, right? That we think a lot about people who live in big cities when they are really surrounded not only by a lot of technology, but other people's technology, like a wall away from them, and the impact that has on how these frequency devices can really help eliminate a lot of that in people's homes. So it's going to be fascinating to watch how this evolves.
Karen, right? When we connect with the Wi-Fi, remember when it was just your router, all you could select was your router, right? And now you click on the Wi-Fi drop down, it's like scroll in a hotel. It's easily 20, 30, this person's iPhone, that person's iPhone. Right. That goes to show you what a compounded, toxic electromagnetic environment we now exist in. Simultaneously, like we said, we have all of these challenges now, and we're not connecting the dots. And the saving grace for me is that we can use technology to, like Lori said, stay vibration resilient. And in the case of the cocoon, which is a powerful, super awesome Tesla device, we can actually convert harmful frequencies into life-enhancing, biologically acceptable frequencies. And that's actually the best defense against all of this like onslaught of on a frequency level, is to not block it. Because if you block it, well, firstly, we would live in a metal cage. We would not be connected, and that's not the idea. We want to embrace technology. We want to stay interconnected. Of course, it's not something that will ever go away. But what we can do is we can throttle down these frequencies. And one of the key components that the Tesla device called Cocoon does, it emits the 7.83 Schumann resonance. So instead of being in an environment that is billions of gigahertz, we're in an environment of 7.83. That's less than 8 hertz per second. And that is very optimal. There are countless studies on heart rate variability that the Schumann resonance, which is in a sense Earth's heartbeat, and our human heart go hand in hand. It helps us to get out of that fight or flight that we're actually in. People may not realize that depression, anxiety, and all of those things, all of these labels that we use constantly, actually could potentially be linked to us being in an existential vibrational battle. The body is constantly under attack on an invisible vibrational level through this technology. So again, this is good technology. It's designed to help us thrive and to embrace all of the good things that are coming from the internet and our mobile devices without paying this high price of disease.
Wow. And I think about our youth who were born into this bombardment of technology and why we see mental health at an all-time high. I believe, having now done more research, that this is definitely part of it. There's so many elements to it. It will be interesting to see if we can get our children to use these biohacking devices and something like the cloud. How does that change?
And I can tell you from being in Sabina's house, when I visited with her, it is a tangible thing that you do feel that you can't explain. It's like when feng shui, like a home is just put together. You just feel that on a deeper level. And I'm just thinking too, back to the children, like ADHD and autism, anxiety, all of these newer diagnoses that they're getting. You have to wonder what the impact of all of this electromagnetic frequency is having on them, because it is out of whack with their resonance and what they really came in being, which is balanced energetically.
There are many thoughts about these children that are coming in being super heightened in terms of their sensitivity, their intuitive abilities, all of the things that they came here to do on this planet for their lifespan. This is something that they need to support themselves.
Exactly. You can treat things from a holistic perspective, from coming in from all different angles things.
Yeah. And to support them.
Yeah, to support. It's all of it. And I know that's why we're having this conversation now, is to help to educate people about what is out there, what is possible, what opportunities there are for people to try something different and to understand, again, looking at their own beings, their own selves as electromagnetic frequency. If we can all look at ourselves as energy in that way, we would treat it differently. We'll look at each other differently. We're connected from a frequency level. We're not just made up of these bodies. Like, there's so much, to your point, Lori, what you said in the beginning of this conversation, there's so much that we can't see, but we can feel. We need to treat that at that molecular level, as Sabine said.
How many of us are always saying too, I don't feel right and I can't figure out why. I'm very anxious. There's no reason why I should feel anxious. What is it? We love to talk about astrology sometimes, right? Having that impact on us, but we don't realize just in our environment, in our day-to-day and what we're doing, and having our computers going and our phones right there and all of that right in our very own homes, the unseen impact that has on us every day. So this is so helpful. I think so many people will be interested. Again, I love the science. So many of us love the tangibility applicability of this and how they can evaluate that in their own lives, but really looking into that impact of what this has on a day-to-day basis and how this technology really can help. So you're pioneers, both of you.
Yes.
We are very honored that you bring such a cutting edge topic to your Seeking Center audience, because I know it is in the beginning something where we have to wrap our heads around it in a year's time, in 2 years' time. I am convinced that we will have so much more evidence, just how the increase of e-smog by 1 quintillion is exponential. I also believe that we will have an exponential rise in awareness and also the physics. I think that this is again this paradigm change that so many have been talking about. Even Einstein said decades ago that the future of medicine will be the medicines of frequencies, because we get finally to, like I said in the beginning, the building block of life, which are molecules. And we have never had this opportunity before. This is a revolution essentially really affecting all aspects. And we have already done studies around the improvements of cognition, teamwork, feeling more at ease, feeling more at peace. Can you imagine what the implications are if we actually take this frequency and are not so easily reactive or exhausted, or the entire interaction in the human collective is actually, I think I see the potential for it to get better because we get out of our own way and don't feel constantly like we're in some sort of stress response or stress reaction.
I think too, Sabina and Robin and Karen, people, your audience, probably everybody thinks they need to be doing something more than they are. I think everybody is like, why are these symptoms? Why are these things happening to me? I'm not working out hard enough. I'm not doing enough yoga. I'm not eating enough organic food, whatever it might be. We're really hard on ourselves. And I think everybody needs to just realize, take a pat on the back. If you're here right now on this planet and you've lived through the last few years and you're relatively intact, you've done a pretty good job, people. Pat yourself on the back, right? Don't be quite so hard on yourself. Go easy, be gentle, be loving with yourself, and be open to some of these things that the universe is sharing with us right now to help us get through gracefully into the next 10, 20 years of life experience here, no matter what your age.
So well said. Thank you for breaking this down so well for us.
Thank you for having me.
You've made it understandable and inspirational at the same time.
Yeah. And I have to say too, we know Lori now for quite some time. And I will say from the time that I know that you started using this till now, I see a big difference. I know you feel different. You really just shine brighter is what I'll say. You have a different energy to you. It is just a lot lighter. And Sabina, you're just beautiful and you're both beautiful.
You've known me a while, so you can see the shifts on my own frequency doing the work I'm doing here in Sedona, plus working with the Sabina and this amazing Centropix company and technology. And it's cumulative. This is something I've been doing for a year, working with the cloud and the cocoon, all their technology devices on a daily basis. And I can tell you, besides the wonderful discomfort in the hip that's gone, there's been many other things that have improved in my world, let's just say. So I would be remiss in not sharing this with others so that everyone can be able to experience their own sense of great well-being right now.
Yeah. And you're a very sought after person in terms of integrating wellness into businesses, into corporations. Yeah. For you to give it your own stamp of approval and want to share this with others, that means a lot. I just want to say that.
Yeah, thank you. I can just comment really quickly on that. I've been involved with helping certify buildings mainly in Los Angeles, but elsewhere under the Well Building standard since 2014, when I started working with the company that launched that standard in New York. And one of the first projects that was done in Los Angeles, they used EMF shielding, actually built it into the walls because they didn't have a device like the cocoon in 2014 to be able to handle that type of an issue. But they were aware of it enough back then to know that, look, we don't just need to look at great water in the space and great air and acoustics and lighting. We need our employees that are working here there day in and day out need some type of way to not be subjected to EMF frequencies. So their solution back then was actually a construction solution. Yes, these are things that people need for anyone who's listening that does work in an office space or works people that curate those spaces. And you're trying to get people to come back to work. Well, create an environment where they want to come back to work and where they're healthy and safe.
We were also talking about how beneficial it could potentially be in a school environment or a hospital environment.
Hospitals, schools, nursing homes, right?
So many places. And as you both have said, I'm sure as more and more evidence, as more and more research is done, that will come to light for many. And so we'll be the pioneer conversation that came out.
Mina, if people want to understand biohacking even more, do you have any suggestions?
Absolutely. Biohacking is trending like crazy. And in fact, the first biohack documentary is just coming out this fall. And it is essentially put together by the guy who coined the term biohacking. And so he's put together the world's best biohacking technologies, biohacking experts, and we're so honored and proud that Centropix is part of this very first biohack documentary to be released any day now. We're so excited to be part of that.
And when it is released, let us know, because we'll make sure that link is also part of the show notes. For those people who want to find out more about Centropix product, they can visit centropix.us/tyranny management, which is TIERNEYMANAGEMENT. And we'll have that link in our show notes.
What I would love to suggest is when people click on that link up at the top, they find Lori's contact information. Don't hesitate to take call, reach out. It's a human to human conversation. We don't want you to feel overwhelmed with links. Reach out. We're real. We're here. And we love to answer questions and welcome you on board of this new frequency revolution that we're all part of. It's a wonderful mission to be, and there's so many heart-centered people all over the world now that are linking arms and are basically saying, let's rise together in vibration. Let's help us shift our frequency, because as they always said, the power that creates the body heals the body, and we have finally access to that molecular power activation.
Thanks to you both.
Yeah.
As Karen said, thank you for pioneering, and thank you for sharing with us and with everybody listening.
Thank you for having us, Rob and Karen. It's always cool to see both of you glowing and doing the work you're doing to support everyone out there on this journey, right? Our soul's journey. It's so important right now that people know there are people out there to help, right?
That is
You
the
guys are
goal.
doing great work.
Thank you.